Alright, you bastards, this is Some-Belgian-prepper, and today we're going to talk shit. And I literally mean we're going to talk about shit. So, we're going to talk today about what to do step by step when the situation gets worse for disposal of human waste. We're going to talk about from everyday scenarios to step by step war scenarios and how we going to take care of every escalation as a prepper and just everyday survival. So we're going to start with number one. All right, the first thing you need is to know how to maintain a toilet for everyday use. It might sound stupid, but a lot of people make mistakes. And this mistake, if you make them in everyday scenario, it will be 10 times worse in a survival or disaster scenario or something benign as there's a problem with the sewer system, that kind of stuff. So you need to maintain your toilet in a good way. So what do you need? I would say you first need some good cleaning stuff, of course, like a brush. You need some cleaning agents, that kind of stuff. So if you got those, you're set for making it safe to use. Because during a disaster scenarios, people will be using less hygienic situations, so they have more chance to spread diseases between humans. So if you share a toilet in that time with housemates, your family, children will come, and other persons will come in contact with other persons, they can transfer if they caught the disease and everybody use the toilet, everybody will get sick. So keep your toilet clean, and disinfectant is a very important step to not transmit this kind of disease, especially in a time where during a disaster scenario where people are less likely to look at hygienic standards, eat foods that are not first rated, and then you get this kind of the transfer of disease as well. So disinfectants is the first step. Second step, I would say, is something like how do you say this? Something to, if your toilet is clogged, you got some chemical agents to burn whatever is clogging the toilet. Could always be handy, and during the everyday scenario, it's always handy to have this in your pantry in storage, because the moment you need it, it's not available. So have one or two of these, and it's not only for the toilet, it's also for the sinks. So that way, it could be handy. Another thing I would say is get some good gloves, because sometimes there is a problem in the toilet and you need to go a little bit deeper, and you don't want to get in the toilet, and if it's something that is clogging the toilet that have some sharp edges around them, yeah, you don't want your finger cut and get sick or infected by that. So always use a glove if you're going to do some maintenance or repairs to your toilet with thick materials like this, so you don't get cut and get infected. Another thing is, if the clogging is really deep, you can perhaps use one of these. This is not the real tool that I would be using, because mine is at my brother's house that he borrowed, but it's something like this that you can go deeper into the toilet and try to catch whatever it's inside of it and pull it away if it's deeper in the pipes. And of course, last one is a plunger. And one more thing is, and this might sound stupid, but many people don't know how to use a plunger. They just think it's plop, plop, plop. No. First thing you need to do is, if there is a clogging, don't do it if you used one of these products, because they will burn the seal or the rubber, or at least make the material a little bit more brittle. So don't use it together with chemical agents. This should be your first use before you're going to use something chemical. Another thing that you need to do is, many people think you just plunge. No, you plunge and you make a seal that is without water. So there doesn't need to be air inside of this, and that is what you need to get. The first one should be gentle, and the moment you feel that the water gets sucked in and out, then you, for 20 seconds, go really up and down without breaking the seal, without air getting in, and that way, at the end, you can just plop it out. Not really plop it out, but whatever it's unclogging it, it's breaking off. So know how to use certain everyday house tools, how you really use them, because many people fail in them, and then they call people who know how the shit works, and they need to unclog it. All right, so um, that is just everyday maintenance, just clearly. And what is the next thing that we're going to probably encounter in this? If you've still got a working toilet, then there is not a problem with sewers. The sewers usually work on gravitation with the water. So as long as there is a public water available, then you can use it. But the moment water in the boil gets up, then you cannot use it anymore, because then it's not a problem with your toilet, that's a problem with the sewer, and then you cannot flush it. And then you need to take the steps that I talked about here. But if it doesn't work, don't use the toilet. Use a bucket or something. We're going to talk about that in a minute, how to use it. But don't do it, because you don't want water from the toilet if it's clogged, don't get any more water in the hope that it will get through without any plunging testing and repairs, so to say. So that's important. But as long as the sewer are working, you can use the toilet. So what if there's no public water line available? Well, then you're going to need to be creative, and you need to use something like rainwater, or water that you gathered around. If it's for the short-term disaster, you can use all the water that you have, perhaps in the worst case scenario, even bottled water. But usually if there is a disaster, or you know that public water is not going to be available at that certain... Oh, damn it. All right, we're back. There was a scammer calling, so I didn't take up. All right, where were we? Oh yeah. What kind of water source do you use? Rainwater, any water is good, but in a short-term scenario, if you know it's only for 1 or 2 days, you can perhaps use water that you have available. But if it's for longer, I would advise to fill any container or bucket you have with water and place it next to it, so every time you use the toilet, you can just use the water instead of what is inside of the water closet, I think it's called in English. So that's the first thing you need to do. If you see in my case, I have here my water pump that is connected to my outside rain barrels, so I can always fill it up from inside the water closet and just use it to not plunge, how do you say this? To flush the toilet, yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. So that's very handy, but yeah, you cannot use any, how do I say this? Don't use water that is able to cause problems later on. So in case with my rain barrels, if it would be water that always be standing still, full of algae, that could create some problems later on. So you don't want that in your water pipes. So in case you don't have a toilet available by the sewer or water, you will have water, but the sewer makes it so that you can't use the toilet. There's another way to still use the toilet in a little bit of a civilized way, and we're going to show you in the next one. Oh yeah, before we're going to talk about reusing the toilet in the next scenario, there's one more thing that you can do for your toilet. And in case you prepare for perhaps droughts, or public water access is sometimes yes or a no, so then you need to be a little bit more better with planning or timing. What do I mean by that? If you fear that your toilet is not always usable, or you want to make the last it longer in a disaster scenario, I would say plan it. If you go to your work, take a shit at your work. Or go to a public place, perhaps the municipal buildings, library, public toilets, that kind of stuff, instead of using it in your own toilet, or use it only for liquid human waste like pissing instead of taking number two. So that's one thing you can do to make it last longer in case it's going bad. Another thing is, instead of using toilet paper, perhaps you can make it last longer by using something like a portable bidet. So that's another way to make it so that there is less clogging in case the sewer is not optimal by mishandling, by some disaster, or by works. So yeah, with those things you can make it last longer. So we're going to see what you can do if your toilet, the sewer cannot digest it anymore. So let's see. So in case the sewer doesn't work, you can just take some plastic bags and put them beneath the seat and make sure that it is a heavy duty kind of bag. And in case that, don't worry about the toilet water that's being hit, because either there will be no toilet water, or B, it's the shit or the piss will never reach it. So what I would advise is, this would be for number two. And if you got to take a leak, a piss, I would say do it in a certain container you can close off and take it out somewhere else, because it's very important to separate those two, because if you mix liquid and solid human waste together, it will start to smell even worse. So if you can separate them, that will lessen the smell. And after using it one time, you can take a hand of something to cover it, that it will go again, that it will help dry out faster. That's also the reason why you separate the liquid and the solid waste. So you can use something like sawdust, quicklime, slicked lime, dried leaves, shredded paper or carton, anything that can take the moisture out of the solids, and that way it will start to smell less. So yeah, always close off in this case, especially with the quicklime. You can just put it on, and after you're done, you just take your seat up, close it the back off, and you can store it. Where do you need to store it? Preferably outside in a container that is proof, is animal proof, that no animal can get inside, or insects, and also that it will not form gases and can explode when it's in contact with something warm, because of methane gas or something like that. But that's why you need something like the quicklime or the sawdust to dry it out first. So that's another thing you can do, still with a toilet. But in case in an apartment, yeah, then you need to, where do you need to store it? Hopefully you have something in your apartment, a place where you can store it in a garage down, or on the perhaps on the street, but you have to be careful because of pigeons and cats, that kind of stuff. But yeah, we're going to the next thing, in case the toilet itself will not be available. So if it would take longer, yeah, then the toilet, the place where it's normally hygienic, because you can dispose of the waste through the sewers, it's not a good idea. Then you need to do it the old style and go to a place and take your toilet to a place where it's less affecting you with smell or hygienic purposes. So that's why you can have one of those camping toilets that are portable. You can portable anywhere. So I would say either in the garden, where you can put it under a roof, in a garage, or any place that is not inside the house where you cook and eat. You don't shit where you eat. Very important. So this is something very handy. That is just a portable toilet. Just the same thing like I said before, with the bag, heavy duty bag that you put inside of them. After you're done, some sawdust, quicklime, and every time you do that, close the lid, and that can go for a long way. I would say this, if I would be using this for taking a shit, I can go 2 weeks with this. I'm sure for it. But yet again, only use this for solid waste. if you got if you want to get rid of liquid waste, two ways. Either you have two of these buckets and you use a system, one for piss, one for solids, or you can use one of those chamber pots from our grandparents. And that way you can piss and just chuck it out in the garden where, or the compost, where piss is less likely to do some damage, but do always do it in a place, or you can dig a pit, do it in there, a layer of dirt, and keep doing that. That's perhaps a better way, but for shit it's more important. All right, so what is usually the plan if it's taking longer than 1 to 3 days? Then yeah, the municipals will have to react and they will have to come up with a plan. Usually this plan, and it has happened in several disasters, is they go around with something like garbage trucks, and everybody has to take their human waste in heavy duty bags and double it in heavy duty bags, seal it off well, and yeah, they can take it with a special garbage truck away and keep the neighborhood cleaner, safer, more hygienic in that regard. So that's something that the municipals could do. If the municipals are not available, then you have to do it yourself. But yeah, that could be a big problem because you have to bury it. Why bury it? Because in human waste, especially solid human waste, there could be bacteria like E. coli, if you ever heard of it, and these things could still be alive for months. So if you're just going to throw it outside, it will attract flies, in other insects, small animals, perhaps even rats, and they can spread E. coli around. And you don't want that during a disaster where it's already lack of professional medical assistance, and food hygienic is also going down. There will be more insects, flies with E. coli on their feet will get on top of your food. You don't want that. So yeah, I would say don't throw it on the compost for these reasons. But you should bury it then, if you cannot store it somewhere safe for a longer period. But yeah, there's only so much shit you can store in a closed off outdoor place. So sometimes you will have to bury it. But if you're going to bury it in a place there is no source of drinking water nearby. So don't chuck it in the river if the river is being used for the local water sources, even if it gets filtered. So don't do that. Um, Not near standing water is also not good, and also don't bury it near a garden where you grow food, because it can infect the vegetables and other plants you grow in the garden. So with E. coli, so you don't want that. All right. So yeah, I also talked about not throwing it on the compost heap. All right. So we're going to the next part. So, another thing, if you're going to bury it not in heavy duty bags in the ground and you're going to do it outside, then I would say if you don't do it near the sources that I said, like drinking water sources, garden beds, that kind of stuff, then I would advise to talk with your neighbors and you talk to everyone to use one latrine, one designated place, because if everybody starts to shit everywhere, there's more chance that certain dangerous places could be contaminated. So you can talk to certain people. This place in the neighborhood we're going to use as a gathered latrine and as a sort of controlled space where you can dump your shit. So you have to dig a pit and you can just throw your feces in there, and then you can just do a layer of dirt and keep going at it again. So that's another thing you can do with your neighborhood. Uh, the last thing I want to talk about is burning. Yeah, we all heard about the burning pits of the U.S. Army and all the problems that it's caused because of it was the way that they get rid of feces. But it's an inefficient and dangerous thing. Why? First of all, uh, yeah, smoke, it's not good. It's bad. But in human feces, if it's full of water and bacteria and pathogens. So if there is an incomplete burning, yeah, then that is a chance that it will get taken away with aerosols, or it can stay there and infect someone else by attracting after the burning, attracting bugs, insects, flies, that kind of stuff. Also dangerous. Another thing you need to take into account is pharmaceutical uh, uh, particles. Yeah, we humans, we use medicine. We women use the pill, hormonal pills, perhaps even drugs, that kind of stuff. And if you burn that shit, literally, it can create toxic smoke yet again. So you don't want that in your neighborhood, especially in a time where not every if persons are using medication without prescription, that kind of stuff, or help themselves, could be dangerous. So don't use a fire pit unless you have a specialized incinerator, because if you have an incinerator, then everything is burnt, and there is not really a problem. But just burning in open air, nope, that's a big no, and it will create problems later on that you don't want if the disaster is just continue going on. And by the way, just for shits and giggles, if you run on your toilet or your other box, we got my books called Bloody Crosses and the Jason Murders if you're interested. So take a look in the description for this detective series if you're interested. So yeah, I would appreciate it. So last thing I would say is yeah, those are all the options you can do to get rid of human waste. And one more thing I want to say is, what about dried human feces to use as fuel? It is possible. If you dry human feces, you can use it to in a wood stove or another kind of as a sort of fuel for fire. But then we got the problem where to dry it, because human feces, if you're going to dry them, they will have the same problems like attracting flies, bugs, pests, that kind of stuff. So you have to do it far away from where you're living, eating, living, that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's something that you need to take extra precautions for. So I think I'm done now. So I would say like, subscribe, all the good stuff, and see you in the next video. Cheers.